like the most terrifying feeling you've ever felt in your life. The black shadow in the corner. I've heard stories about people dying from a heart attack from being so scared. That's what it felt like.
So, once again, you found yourself at the campsite of the Orator. Well, please pull up a chair. As you can see, my fire is stoked, which means tonight I have another tale to tell. But before we begin, if you do find yourself enjoying this kind of content, first-hand accounts of the supernatural, paranormal, things that go bump in the night, then allow the spirits to guide your planchette to both the like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. That way you get notified every time I upload new content, and it does allow me to continue to do what I love, which is telling terrifying tales. Second, all of my stories are first-hand accounts of the supernatural and paranormal. So if you or anybody you know has a story that might fit well as a story on my channel, then please either reach out in the comments below or on any of my social media. We will find a time to connect and hopefully one day feature you here on The Orator. And lastly, we are officially over 500 subscribers, which means another giveaway. Congratulations. Here's how this giveaway is going to work. It's going to be exactly like the last giveaway if you were here when I hit 100 subscribers. So how this is going to work is on this video and any other videos in June, comment below. It can be any comment, something about the video, something you liked, something you'd like to see more of, anything like that. And as long as you comment below, I'm going to take your name and put it into basically like a generator, and then I'm going to generate 8 different names. Now, you get 1 entry every single time you comment on a new video. So you can't comment 8 times on one video and get 8 entries, but if you comment on 8 different videos throughout the month of June, then you'll have 8 different entries into this thing. I will pull 8 names in total. You can only win once, and the winner will get these custom trading cards designed by a company called Jack's Attic. Now, Jack's Attic, I know the owner personally, and he does horror pop weirdness. You really should check out his site. He does a ton of cool stuff, mostly dabbles in homemade custom trading cards that he does. He releases them. They're normally horror-based and stuff like that, but he's got a ton of other stuff on his site. Check it out. It's all custom made, and it's really, really cool. But these trading cards are, again, custom made, and every single one of them was burned in the Orator's campfire. So each one has custom burn marks. They're labeled, and there are 8 of them left. So I'm going to take 8 people from the comments, and you're going to get not only a custom card, but I'm going to write a letter and sign it with a little story attached to it, and it's going to be really cool and unique and all yours. So please make sure to comment on this and all subsequent videos. And now, with all of that out of the way, let's finally get on to today's story. It is a tale that I call The Lights in the Closet. So in 1991, Ryan is about 6 years old. And him and his family, they live on the west coast of the country in the United States of America. Now, this person is semi-famous. They used to be in the NBA, the National Basketball Association. And so all of the names are fake, and I'm not going to tell specific locations on the story. But he's on the west coast of the country, and he's about 6 years old. And when he turns 6, he starts having this same recurring nightmare. Now, how this nightmare works is it starts out, and he's just having fun playing. And he's either playing with his brother, or he's by himself, or he's somewhere in his house. Usually, sometimes it's outside, but it's almost always in his house. And it's just a normal time, and he's having fun and playing. When suddenly, in the dream, it literally starts to get dark everywhere. Like dark outside, dark inside. Everything starts to dim. And he already knows what's coming because this is a recurring dream. And so what ends up happening is he hears this howling somewhere off in the distance, and he knows that this thing is coming for him. And suddenly, from somewhere, and it's never the same place twice, this giant wolf jumps out and attacks him. Now, sometimes it literally busts through the window of his room. Sometimes it comes in through his sister's room. Sometimes through his parents' room. Sometimes it charges down the hallway. It comes from all of these different directions, And he never knows exactly where it's coming from, but as soon as it starts to get dark and as soon as he hears that howl, he knows that this giant wolf is coming for him. And somehow, this kid is super brave and very little actually scares him. But in this dream, he always crouches down, gets in the fetal position, puts his head down, and then this wolf jumps out and attacks his back. And it really sinks its teeth in every single time. He doesn't wake up right at the last second. He gets attacked on his back. And then all of a sudden, he comes awake, and he feels his back every single time. It's the same exact place. Now, this is all the way back in the 90s, right? All the way to today. Fast forward today, anytime this guy has a nightmare, we're going to call him Ryan for the purposes of the story. Every time Ryan has a nightmare, whenever he wakes up, that's the first thing he does. Even all of these years later, it's the first thing he does is checks his back. And so this nightmare happens for years. In fact, it goes from the time he's about 6 years old until he's about 14 years old. This entire time, almost a 10-year stretch, he's constantly having this recurring nightmare. And it's terrifying to him. But then, all of a sudden, something changes. In February of 1999, Ryan's grandfather passes away. Now, Ryan and his grandfather, they were extremely close. They were really good friends. He always got advice from his grandfather. And so it was a really important person in his life. And it was a very devastating time in his life. But there was something potentially positive that came out of it, because the next time that Ryan ended up having that nightmare, everything started the exact same. It was nice. He was playing. He was having fun. All of a sudden, it got dark. And he heard this howling. And he knew the wolf is coming, just like it always does. And so just like always, he got down, he put his head down between his legs in the fetal position, and he's ready for this wolf to attack his back when suddenly, and this is going to sound a little crazy, Robin Hood jumps out from the shadows. And it's not like an adult human Robin Hood. It's the Robin Hood from the Disney cartoon, Fox with the green and the hat and all that kind of stuff, right? Except there's two things different about this Robin Hood. Number one, he has a purple cape, which he didn't wear in the cartoon at all. And number two, the most important thing, he had this giant crow sitting on his shoulder. And, you know, Ryan didn't really have time to wonder if this was weird or anything like that. And also, it's a dream, so weird things happen all the time. But this wolf is coming to attack when suddenly Robin Hood and this crow leap to his defense and protect him. And for some reason, Ryan understood, like on an intuitive level, that this crow was the spirit of his grandfather coming to protect him. And so he, throughout that year, the year of 1999, he had that same recurring nightmare several times, like 3-4 times throughout that entire year. But every single time after his grandpa passed, the recurring nightmare changed into the wolf comes, and then suddenly Robin Hood and the crow pop out, and they protect him. And so he started to see this as not a nightmare anymore, but sort of a dream and sort of like a comfort thing because it was his grandfather. But then, around the time that the year 2000 hit, that nightmare changed completely. Instead of the wolf coming, all of a sudden the wolf was completely gone. The crow and Robin Hood were completely gone. Now, when he was in his nightmare, it would be the same thing. He'd be playing, hanging out, having fun, and all of a sudden it would get dark. And then there was this corner, this specific corner in his house, where these shadows would start to sort of pool and coalesce and mingle together. And then it would deepen, and it's not a shadow anymore. It's like a pool of thick black darkness, and it is evil. It is evil incarnate. In fact, Ryan recalls he was never scared of pretty much anything. He hated the nightmare. It sucked, but he wasn't really scared of that. He wasn't scared of anything out in the world or anything like that. He said, but when this nightmare happened and he saw this dark pool, he said it was the scariest thing that anybody could have experienced. He said, you know when people have some event that is so scary, they literally have a heart attack and it ends up killing them? That happens on occasion, right? Normally people get really, really scared, but there's a limit. Every once in a while, something's so scary, it literally kills people. He said that's how it felt in his dreams. He said, every time I saw that dark pool, and he said it wasn't shadow, it was this, it was thicker than shadow, it was deeper than shadow, it was more corporeal than shadow, but when he saw it, He said he literally felt the evil from it. And he said he started to literally think he was going to have a heart attack, not just in his dream, but in real life. It was so scary. When he woke up, it was like he was having panic attacks and he was freaking out and he was terrified. And every single time this happened, it would be the same thing. And this time, nobody came to save him. Nobody came to protect him. And he's terrified of this thing. And this happens from 2000 all the way to 2003. For 3 years, Ryan is having this recurring, terrifying nightmare. And finally, as he becomes an adult, he decides it's time to move out of his parents' house and into his own house. And so he finally moves, and he was a little ways away, and now he is a professional basketball player in the NBA, and so he moves pretty close to his new training facilities and home base and stuff like that. And so he's at his new house, and he's making a lot of money, so it's a pretty decent house, like 6,300 square feet, lots of bedrooms and bathrooms, really ornate, very beautiful. And so he moves to this brand new house, and he thinks maybe he's finally gotten away from this evil entity. And in fact, when he moves to his new house, he stops having those recurring nightmares. And he really does attribute a lot of that to the fact that it might have been the house or the land, or there was something evil that was trying to attack him and couldn't quite get to him. So he moves to this new house. He's now an adult, and his sister comes over and they hang out a lot. And he notices that there's something in this new house. Now, this thing isn't necessarily attached to him, but it's in his bedroom closet. And he notices that if you kept the lights on, this spirit, this entity didn't do anything. It was completely silent and quiet. But if you turned that light off in the walk-in closet, this thing would go crazy. And it wasn't little stuff. It was really, really big stuff. Stuff would fly around the house. There would be shadows everywhere. There'd be like shadow people running around the house. There'd be loud booms and stuff like that going out all over the house. You would see lights shining from all sorts of places. Not just light bulbs, but like literally light shining through doors and stuff like that. Things that just did not make any sense and were really overt and really, really aggressive. Now remember, Ryan, he is virtually scared of nothing minus that one dark pool of blackness. And so when he discovers this, he's a man of faith, a man of God. He's not really worried about things like this. He just literally leaves the light on. And him and his sister saw this kind of stuff happen a lot. Now his mom came over and she was kind of an empath. She definitely had abilities to sense and experience things. But for some reason, she didn't really get a reading on this thing in the closet. But, as far as Ryan and her sister were concerned, they had all the proof that they needed because every time you turned off the light, it was an infinite amount of proof right there. And so, Ryan over the years would have friends that would come over and hang out at his house. And inevitably, he would bring up this spirit. Now, over the years, he kind of gave it a name, Sasha. And so he would bring up, yeah, there's a spirit, Sasha, and as long as you leave the light on, he's fine. But if you turn it off, chaos ensues. And one by one, all of his friends, of course, thought he was crazy or ridiculous or just being funny. And all Ryan had to do was walk over to the closet, turn the light off, and boom, he made a believer out of literally anybody who would come over and see all of his friends and stuff like that. Now, there was this one specific time where Ryan had a good friend come over. Now, this good friend's name was Seth, and he came from India originally. And he was an atheist. He didn't believe in ghosts or spirits or demons or literally any of that stuff. This guy, he was a man of science. He was a computer programmer, and he took that really seriously, and he knew a ton about like physics and stuff like that. And so this guy, he was really into math, science, computers, things like that, and he just didn't really have any time or interest in the paranormal or supernatural. And one of the things that Ryan and Seth loved to do when they got together was play chess on Seth's laptop. And they would just play back and forth and have a lot of fun. Well, one night they're playing, and they're doing it in the kitchen. They're just kind of sitting on the laptop, playing chess. And Ryan remembers he beat Seth like 3 or 4 times in a row. And Seth eventually got so frustrated that he powered down the laptop, shut it down, and said, let's go do something else. I don't want to play anymore. And so the laptop is shut and completely turned off, sitting on the kitchen counter. They go into the living room and turn on Game of Thrones, which was like a wildly popular television show during that time. And they're just sitting there watching it. And at some point, Ryan brings up Sasha to Seth. He just says, there's the spirit and, kind of crazy. And Seth, he's of course blown off because he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. And at some point, Ryan gets a little offended. Like, you should take me at my word at least a little bit. You know I'm not going to lie to you. So he says, all right, I will prove it to you. So he goes upstairs. He goes into his room, clicks the light off, goes back down, sits down on the couch. And he's like, all right, let's keep watching, but give it a minute. And then it starts happening. All of a sudden, lights start turning on and off. And then Seth looks up into the rafters, because you can actually see upstairs from the living room into these rafters, and he can see, they're the only two in the house, but he can see things running around upstairs, and you can hear the footfalls and see the shadows, and he starts freaking out. But then the laptop that's on the kitchen table, now you have to remember, this guy's a computer programmer, so when he shuts something off and powers it down and everything like that, he knows what's going on with this stuff. The laptop, all of a sudden, it's shut, turns back on, and they literally can hear it navigate to YouTube and the sound going off of it showing up on YouTube, and then all of a sudden this song starts to play from the laptop that neither of them have ever played or heard before. And Seth is freaking out. He's like, okay, I believe you. Just stop this. And even Ryan's like, God dang, this, like Sasha is really pulling out all the stuff, starting this laptop and everything. And so he runs upstairs, he turns on the light, and immediately everything just stops. And so this house, it was really straightforward for Ryan. He just left the light on all the time and it didn't bother him. But it's one of those things, he's like, I don't have to worry about if I'm crazy or if this is real or not. He said, I have an endless amount of witnesses who came over and saw this stuff, and they'd all vouch for me. And so that was kind of crazy. Now, he had a lot of different stuff happening in his life because he himself was probably an empath, and so he saw a lot of spirits and entities and things like that. But he was also a very strong man of God, a man of faith. But one time, he had to prove it. And he is, at this point, at his basketball facility, and everybody's gone home. He's kind of the first to show up, last to leave type. And so everybody else has gone home. He's practicing a little bit late. And there's only a couple other people there. There's the trainer, there's the physical therapist, and then there's the equipment manager. And so they're all kind of hanging out as he shoots a couple more hoops. He finishes up, and then he goes into the bathroom. He takes off his uniform and everything like that. And so he's just kind of in like his tights. And he uses the bathroom. And then he goes to wash his hands. And as he's washing his hands, all of a sudden he hears a sound. And it sounds like someone slaps one of the toilet paper rolls in the stall. And he can hear it get slapped and then the toilet paper unrolling. And then as he's hearing that, all of a sudden, it goes from like regular, normal feeling in there to really hot and a ton of like pressure. Almost like you're in a sauna, kind of. And it started to rise and rise, and he's kind of freaked out a little bit. And he's going and he's checking all the stalls to see if maybe somebody else really was in there. And that's what happened with the toilet paper. And there's nobody in any of the stalls. None of the toilet paper rolls are even unrolled. And he's pretty confused. And so he walks out and he talks to the trainer and the equipment manager and the physical therapist. And he says, hey, did any of you guys go in the bathroom? Or do you know if anybody went in there or anything like that? Do you know if anything happened? And they're all like, God, it's just us. It's been us for a while now. No, nobody went in there. No, nobody else is even here. And so he's like, that's really, really weird. Okay. And he, goes back and he grabs a towel out of the locker room and he throws it over his shoulder and he gets down and he's going to go take a shower. And so he gets naked and he goes to get in the shower, and he likes his showers cold. So when he first opens that door, he is immediately, once again, hit with this heat and this pressure. And it's not anywhere else in the building. It's only in the bathroom. And he walks in and he's looking around and there's nobody else in there. There's no showers on. There's no sound. There's no reason why it should be hot or have this pressure or anything like that. But, like I said, he's a brave guy. He's not really scared of anything. He's used to weird stuff happening around him. And so he just goes into one of the stalls, he turns on the shower, and he likes his showers cold, so it's supposed to be cold water, but it is so hot, and the pressure is so, strong in this bathroom that he can't even really get the calming features that a cold shower normally should produce. And so he's sitting there, and it's hot, and he's got this water beating down on him, and it's not even cold water, and he's really weirded out by this situation when all of a sudden, in his head, there's like this entity that speaks, and it speaks kind of in his voice, almost like a thought, but it is not one of his thoughts. This thing is like a foreign thought. And he hears this demon in his voice. And the demon says,
"Why do you believe in God?"
And he's kind of freaked out, and he's looking around to make sure nobody spoke, but he knows it's inside of his head. And so he just sort of, in his mind says back, well, God is the creator of everything. Of course I believe in God. And this demon keeps speaking back to him. And it says,
"Have you had any experience with God?"
And he sort of thinks back to it. Well, why would I? I'm still alive. I haven't died yet. No, I don't have any experience yet with God. And as he's saying this, he's feeling the heat and the pressure get more and more intense. It's not static. It's rising. It's getting crazier. It's like whatever this thing is, whatever this entity is, it is seriously trying to either get him out of there or just, wear him down or something like that. And so he's, trying to focus, trying to be calm, but then this thing keeps speaking to him. And it says,
"If God were real, wouldn't it give you all of the things that you want on earth?"
And he thinks back to it. God already gave us everything we need on earth. He gave us the greatest thing ever, which is free will. And, in his head, while he's kind of saying this, he's thinking to himself, like, who is this? What is this? Why are they asking me these kind of things? And this creature says,
"Well, don't you want anything on earth?"
And he thinks back to it, yes, but not from God. Like, everything he's going to give me here is temporary. And I'm more concerned about eternal life. And then this creature says back to it,
"Well, if you don't get all of the things that you want on earth, why do you believe in God?"
And he thinks back to it, you asking me these questions is all the proof I need that God exists. And the moment he thought that back to that creature, it's like the creature understood that he had a wall of faith that could not be broken, and immediately the heat, the pressure, the feeling of darkness and oppression, it all completely dissipated in an instant, and all of a sudden he's getting hammered by this ice-cold water, which for him was like a relief, right? And so he finishes his shower, and then he ends up getting dressed and everything, and he heads out of the facility. And frankly, he tells a couple people like what happened, but they all sort of think he's the crazy guy. He's the weird guy to having experienced stuff like this. But he says, throughout his life, he's had a lot of weird experiences, but he has a lot of proof, and he has a lot of people around him that have seen that stuff. So he says, even though I've had these weird experiences, I know that they're true, and I have other people who know that they're true too. But even to this day, he says he experiences Sasha still, and he experiences other spirits and things that talk to him and entities, and that stuff is kind of par for the course. But kind of in his, in his own belief system, he said, if it has a head, it can be killed, and I'm not worried about it. And so he's not really scared of virtually anything out in the world, even though he experiences a lot of paranormal activity. So that's going to do it for today's story. If you find yourself enjoying this kind of content, first-hand accounts of the supernatural, paranormal, things that go bump in the night, then please allow the spirits to guide your planchette to both the like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. That way you get to watch everything that I put out, and it allows me to continue to do what I love, which is telling terrifying tales. Second, all of my tales are first-hand accounts of supernatural and paranormal phenomena. So if you or anybody you know has a story that might fit well on my channel, reach out in the comments below or on any of my social media. We will find a time to get together and feature you here one day on The Orator. And lastly, because of 500 subscribers, once again, thank you so much. Immeasurable thanks. We are doing a giveaway. 8 custom gift cards. All you have to do is comment below and comment on every video through the month of June, and you are going to be entered to win one of those cards. So please comment below and look out for that trading card if you win. I'm super excited for everybody to participate in that. And so until next time, where you will pull up your chair, my fire will be stoked, and I will have another tale to tell.